Coming front court, across the timeline with 10, knocked away, Dudley Bradley for the stop, 70-68, 3, 2, 1, Matthews off balance, off the glass, Dudley Bradley's defense did it. And ready on his second attempt. That one is no good, they battle for it, loose ball, recovered Marvin, he scores! Pushes into Hubert Davis. 8 seconds. Davis trying to get free. Over to Fox. Fox, baseline. Up for the shot. Good! Off the glass! Oklahoma calls timeout, but the game is over! The game is over! Carolina has upset number 1 Oklahoma!
Turns it over! Kenny Williams with the steal. Gets it to Barry. 17 seconds to go. Barry, Duke not fouling. Gets it to Johnson. To Pinson for the highlight.
Inbounds goes deep on the right sideline to May.
Holy smokes, a long three!
Are you kidding me?
Holy cow!
Pinson gets all the way to the rim, and what a way to pick up his first field goal of the season by throwing down the tomahawk.
With 20 seconds left to play, goes back to Michael Jordan, jumper from out on the left, good! 63-62, 13, 12, 11, Georgetown with one timeout. Fred Brown looking, way to Worthy! 35! The Tar Heels are going to win the national championship!
Rebounded by Weber. Michigan out of timeout. Weber front court, Carolina with foul. He takes the timeout. They're out of timeout. Technical foul. Technical foul. Brown gets it into Williams. Here comes Williams front court. Williams on the drive. Gets it back out to head. Long outside shot. Short rebounded. May! It's over! Carolina has won the national championship. How about them Tar Heels? They are the national champions.
That's it! Make room for 2017. The Tar Heels are the national daggum champions.
This is the Roy's Boys podcast with your host, Joshua Marlowe. Hey everybody, welcome into another edition of the Roy's Boys podcast powered by Carolina Electrical Services. For all your electrical needs, call Jacob Marlowe at 704-320-7357. Josh and Anthony here with you as always, but today we got a special guest, former Tar Heel and player Matt Doherty is here with us today. Coach, how's it going today?
It's doing well. Jacob Marlowe, any relation to Josh Marlowe?
Yeah, that happens to be my father.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so
good plug. Hey, thanks for having me on. It's really cool to see two guys so passionate about Carolina athletics and college athletics and athletics in general. So I love to be on the show with you guys, and I enjoyed seeing you guys the other day at the draft party for the Hornets and WFNZ.
We appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to come talk to us for a little bit. So, Coach, catch us up on what you've been doing lately.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I'm in town on Mondays because I do a radio show with Kyle Bailey at FNZ. And I've started two businesses. One is the CBD business, which is the hemp oil business. And it's something that I was very hesitant to get into because of the cannabis plant and hemp and people, thinking of marijuana and THC and, being the former coach at North Carolina, Notre Dame, and growing up the way I did, never wanted to be associated with anything negative. But it's a revolutionary supplement that is really impacting the lives of people in a positive way. And I'm with a company called State of Mind Naturals, and a startup that we've only been we launched about 2 months ago, and it's cool space. It's helped me just my quality of life, being able to play golf without pain, and the only pain it is when I hit one out of bounds. That's which is more often than I'd like. And then the other thing I'm doing is leadership. I have a leadership practice. I call it practice because if a doctor can call it a practice and a lawyer can call it a practice, leadership is practice, and it's something that needs to be practiced every day. And that really started from my time as the head coach at North Carolina. When I lost my job, I tried to get better. And the thing that I needed to improve on was leadership. And I realized there's no real formal leadership training out there in most industries. And if you don't have good leadership, your company will suffer. So that's something I'm passionate about. So those are the two things that are taking up most of my time.
When you talk about great leadership, Coach Smith was a guy that throughout college basketball is remembered as one of the great leaders. You were someone that actually got recruited by him. Tell us a little bit about Coach Smith and what it was like to be recruited by a guy that really seems like just a real Class A guy.
Yeah, it was an honor to be recruited by North Carolina and Dean Smith. It was an honor to play for him. Mm-hmm. And it was an honor to be selected technically by him to be the coach at North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Even though Dick Bedour was the athletic director at the time, but Coach Smith obviously was very influential in that process. The thing that stood out to me about North Carolina, and it doesn't attract everybody because it comes down to fit. It's just like any relationship that you would have with your spouse or a company. There has to be a fit. And the thing that Coach Smith stood for, class, integrity, savvy players, teamwork, were things that I was attracted to and that I grew up believing in because it was developed in me by none other than Bob McKillop at Davidson. Bob McKillop was my high school coach my first 2 years, and then a gentleman by the name of Dick Zeitler my last 2 years. But that was instilled in me, and when I saw Carolina play in the Coach Smith coached the 76 Olympics. I was 14. When he went to the Final Four in 77 with a guy named Michael Korn as a starting forward who was a freshman at the time. I was 6'7", or in that height range, and I wanted to play like a Michael Korn. And so I fell in love with Carolina, and then to have them actually recruit me, it was an easy process for Coach. I didn't take any phone calls back then, just letters, and there was no email, no text messaging, obviously. And I was the earliest commitment that he ever had at the time. I committed in October of my senior year, and no one had committed that early. So I was an easy recruit for Coach Smith because I really wanted to be a part of the program. Most coaches are telling you things you want to hear.
Right.
And he came in, he's so secure in himself that he said things that a recruit wouldn't want to hear. And for me, I took it as a challenge. Like he said, you'd be lucky to play by the time you're a junior. And I remember leaning forward in my chair saying to myself, I'll show you. And I ended up being a sixth man as a freshman and started as a sophomore. So, where other coaches say, hey, you're going to come in, you're going to play, you're going to get touches, you're going to start, he didn't. So that was different. And I liked it because I felt like he was telling me the truth. And also the other coaches, when they know you're being recruited by Dean Smith in North Carolina, they start to take subtle shots at the program. So you realize, okay, this is the real deal. If they're taking shots at him, there's something there of substance.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine as a kid from East Meadow, New York, there was a lot of differences when you took that first trip to Chapel Hill. What kind of stood out about the town when you visited the South?
Well, back then it was the South. Now half of, I think, the Charlotte area is from Long Island and Ohio and New Jersey and upstate New York. It's I jokingly said, a friend of mine gave this plaque to me, says, I'm not from the South, but I got here as fast as I could. And what I discovered, having been exposed to schools like, St. John's and Syracuse and, schools in the Northeast is, one, I wanted to play in the ACC because the Big East wasn't formed. It was just forming at the time. I was in 79. I was a senior in high school at 80. I wanted to play in the ACC. It was a basketball conference. Also, the weather was something. You come down, you visit the campus. The campuses in the Northeast are not like they are in the Southeast, even if they're pretty. But a lot of them are urban campuses. And when you come down to North Carolina, Duke, the first school I visited was Duke. The second school I visited was schools, UVA, and then the third school I visited was North Carolina. The fourth school that was really was interested in was Notre Dame. Also was being recruited by Holy Cross and Princeton, and it's kind of like you want to have those backup schools in case maybe I don't know if I wanted to be the bigger fish in a smaller pond. So, but I just fell in love with the program and the school, the campus, and it was a good school. It was a school that I knew that when I was done playing would open doors for me, even in New York. The degree traveled.
So when you look back on the 81 team in particular, you guys lost in the championship game to Indiana. It kind of has that feeling. We've seen this multiple times with Carolina teams that were title champions. I mean, 09 after the 08 loss to Kansas. Same thing in 17 after the loss in the title game to Villanova in 16. So, when you look at that 82 season, look back, what was the mindset for you guys? Was it pretty much, look, we're winning the title and this is just how it is, or was there maybe a different mindset?
Well, first of all, you have to have talent coming back. Mm-hmm. It's nice to say, well, you went to the championship game, you lost, and you're going to come back. But, the key to us coming back was we had James Worthy, Sam Perkins, Jimmy Black, hopefully myself, and then some guy named Michael Jordan. So you needed talent. But the fact that we had that experience, I think, was very settling for us as a team because nothing was new. We had gone through it. The core of the team had gone through it. Mm-hmm. We missed Al Wood as a starter, who was a great, great leader, and Mike Pepper were the two starters that we lost from that team. So, the guys that took their places in the starting lineup were me and Michael Jordan. And I played a lot on that team. So we weren't there was an air of confidence about what we were doing, but also, we tasted it, and then we want to win it. And so we almost didn't get out of the gates. We stumbled in our first game in Charlotte to James Madison. We blew him out by 2 points. But that was good because it was the scare we probably needed. That, human nature is we just can't walk on the floor and expect to beat people. We've got to play. And but I do think that our experience, especially in the championship game, I remember Patrick Ewing goaltended like the first 5 or 6 shots, and we were laughing on the court. Like, for John Thompson to think that we were going to get rattled by Patrick Ewing. We played against Ralph Sampson, who was 7'4" and one of the best shot blockers in the country. Patrick Ewing sat back there. I remember saying to James on the court, "Hey, James, we'll keep throwing it to you. Just turn around and shoot. Let him goaltend it. It's 2 points." And so like the first 8 points, I think Georgetown gave us because of goaltending. It didn't faze us in the least. So I think the poise, the experience we had, even though Jimmy Black was a senior, Worthy was a junior, 2 sophomores with Sam and I, and then Michael being the freshman. But Michael, as we know, it might have been his best game of the year. The way he played in that game, the poise he played with was ridiculous for anybody, yet alone a freshman.
You talk about that team and the talent. I'll load it from top to bottom. And you talk about Michael Jordan. Everyone has that moment when they realize, okay, this guy's different. When did you realize this is a different breed of player we have on our team? And was his success did his success in the NBA surprise you at all?
Yeah, those are great questions, Josh. There are a couple moments that come to mind when you ask those questions. One, in practice, he would drive the baseline and had the ability to hang in the air and, look at the rim and find a place to get the shot off with touch. And he did that in practice. I'm like, wow, that's different, And then, obviously, what he did in the championship game. But I think what really got my attention was, I think it was the summer after his freshman year, and we're playing pickup games in the summertime at Carmichael, and all the pros come back, and there was Walter Davis, who's from Charlotte, who was an all-pro player with the Phoenix Suns, and I was sitting in the stands watching, and Michael was kind of annihilating Walter Davis in the pickup game. And Walter's jersey was in the rafters. And I'm saying to myself, I remember saying to myself, like, Michael, show him more respect.